Hey y'all, it's Nancy the Handy Scandy. Welcome back for another crafty venture.
And welcome to another hashtag Miss You in May project. I initially made this video for Whimsy, but I wanted to share it over here just in case y'all didn't see it there. So continuing on with the hashtag Miss You in May, again, this is in honor of my daughter who passed away. May is her birth month, and so I wanted to just use this time to honor her. So I found this fun moose stamp in my stash, and it's called Moose. Wonderful. And it says, I moose you. And I said, you know what? This one, I have to use it. I have to use it. And even though it really is more of a winter theme with the moose, there is one where he's holding the balloon and he's got a little package behind his back, but you only see the bow. So I didn't want to make a birthday card as much as I just wanted to make a miss you card. So that is what I'm doing. So you saw the products that I showed in the beginning. I will have everything linked and listed downstairs in the description box. I also pulled in a couple other products along the line. I pulled in the Sprinkle Scallop Rectangle Die, which is probably one of my most used. And I also use the Quick Strips Sentiment Die Set. So you might be asking yourself, why is the moose the one she wanted to use for this Miss You card? Well, because we lived in Alaska. I actually lived in Alaska for 6 years, 2 different times, but my baby was born in Alaska. So my oldest biological and my youngest biological were both born in Alaska on the same Army base in the same hospital. So Alaska is near and dear to my heart. Do I want to go back and live there? No. Do I have fond memories? Absolutely. Are moose a part of those memories? Absolutely. Are moose a part of Mara and Zach's memories? Yes, of course. We all have lots of memories about moose. So now back to the card. So you saw in the beginning I had that green piece of cardstock laid down because I wanted to start with a green base. And so I sprayed some of my Distress spray stains down through the stencil, and unfortunately there wasn't enough contrast between the colors of the ink and the color of the cardstock. You can see it. It creates more of like a rough texture versus being able to see the pattern of the Harlequin. But you can see over there on the right where I picked up the rest of that ink that was still wet. I picked that up with a white cardstock and have a beautiful print of that Harlequin stencil. So I will be using that in the future, but not right now. But you also saw that I used a couple of other Distress spray stains to create that kind of mottled blue sky background. And then I used the 3 Trees border die to cut out the scenery, if you will, and then the Scallop Sprinkle Rectangle die to cut the whole thing out. And here I have the It's Cloudy. I believe that's what it's called. It's Cloudy. Yeah, 6x9 stencil. And initially I put Distress texture paste in Sparkle. And I thought that was going to be great. But what I forgot is that this particular texture paste dries translucent. You only see the sparkle. And so I set that aside to dry while I was coloring up my moose. And I do show my whole process. I have it sped up quite a bit using my markers, my down and dirty way of coloring. You guys, yeah, it's nothing new. Anyway, so while that Distress texture paste in Sparkle is drying, I'm running through my head, okay, what kind of paste do I already have that will create a fluffy cloud? And I have a couple different things, but in the end I decided to go with the Crafter's Workshop Shimmery Goodness. It's a paste. It is incredibly shimmery. On the bottle it says dries clear and iridescent, adds shimmer to ordinary paint or gel. You need this. So yes, you can mix that with other mediums, with paints, gels, other spreads, and it will add a beautiful shimmer. I like to use it just by itself. It adds a beautiful white shimmer. Yeah, it's gorgeous. So fussy cutting my little moosey moose out, stamped out the I Moose You, and that's where I'm using that label die to die cut this out. Now you can use any label die. You don't even have to use a label die. You can just, trim your sentiment out with scissors or with your trimmer. whatever works best for you. You don't need to go buy anything new. Just look through your stash of dies. You might have something that would work perfectly that you never thought to use as a sentiment strip die. So there you can see I have that texture paste, the sparkle texture paste. It's still drying, and I wanted to lift this card base up on the double-sided foam tape. I always add a little bit of liquid glue for some wiggle room in case I need to move it around, and I always need to move it around. So I don't add a lot, just enough to make there, to keep a little bit of texture, or not texture, what's the word I'm looking for? Friction on the paper so that it'll move around. I don't know, it's just a few seconds, but it's really all that I need. So then I press that down to the card base, and while that paste continues to dry, I add a little bit of highlights with my white gel pen on the trees and the hill, as well as to the moose and the balloon. So I think it just brings it to life a little bit. And then I decided that I wanted to add more to the moose. He was looking a little flat to me, so I felt like he needed some texture, some depth. So I went in with my Olo markers as well as with my little micro pens, and I just did some dots in different places. So here's where I'm coming in with the shimmery goodness and adding my paste right through that stencil to give some big fluffy shimmery clouds. And I'm smudging the paste as I go. I'm on the struggle bus with these clouds, y'all. I thought I could maybe fix it, kind of move it over. No, I couldn't. So ultimately what I end up doing is kind of masking it, if you will, kind of hiding it by the placement of my moose. I'm covering up a little boo-boo there, and then in the end I come back in and I move, or I allow this to dry all day. I come back home from work, and then I put the I Moose You sentiment right there over the flubbed up. But there's still a little flub, but it's okay. What you're seeing there under the I Moose You, that's the sparkle texture paste. It's just, there's a reflection on it. But the I Moose You really covers up that messy spot, and that is my card for the day. You can see all of those fun spots in the texture, and I really had a good time making this one. You know, sometimes remembering those that we've lost can be bitter, sometimes it can be sweet. Today it was sweet. Excuse me. So I invite you to join me in hashtag Miss You in May as I continue to celebrate those that I miss. Thanks, guys. This is Nancy, the Handy Scandy. Mwah. I'm out.